What's happening? What's happening, everybody? Just
Back.
chilling. We're back like winter. I hope wherever y'all at, it's a little warmer than it is here. I ain't feeling it. I ain't feeling it. Don't even want to go outside.
Yeah. Washington has been
Let's see.
nice. We done had a couple non-rainy days. That's the best thing about Washington. That's the worst thing about Washington. It's always raining. So we've
Uh,
been good
yeah.
the last couple days.
That's cool. Well, we told y'all we was gonna take a little time off for the holidays. We did that. We're back now. We're gonna wrap up with Black Reconstruction by W.B. Du Bois. We got a couple notes that we want to touch on. And all right, so where we're gonna start? We're just gonna talk about what was the W.B. Du Bois trying to do with his book? What was he trying to touch on? What points was he trying to make throughout the book? I hope y'all done read the book. We hope y'all when they got the book, checked it out, did some research for yourself. We are not your daddy or your college instructor. Uh, you got to do some critical thinking on your own. But these are some of the things that we believe um, he was trying to point out in the book. And uh, this is W.B. Du Bois' indictment of the American historiography. That's what you say, right?
Yeah. So uh, basically, the entire point of the book. Well, one of the things is he wrote the book later in his life. I think he may have been in his 90s.
Yeah, he is.
Definitely in his 80s. Uh, by the time he wrote this book, uh, well, the book was written in 1935. So I believe he was in his 90s by the time he wrote this book. His or 80s, but his reasoning for writing the book was he was claiming that the history of America was completely whitewashed, and they, pretty much conspired to write black people or the ADOS community and everything that they did from the point of the Civil War all the way throughout Reconstruction. Um, they wanted to whitewash and sort of erase their part, particularly the good parts. They didn't want to give him credit. His opening statement was, why the propaganda of history uh, is told. Um, One of his opening statements was just something like, why the propaganda of history was told the way it is was because the the South was ashamed that they fought to keep slavery, and the North was ashamed that they needed to emancipate and enlist black soldiers in order to win the Civil War. And
I don't think the
and so
South was ashamed at all. I think the South was just mad that they lost. I don't think they was ashamed that they actually was fighting to keep black folks enslaved. I think they were just ashamed that they lost.
yeah, that's possible. You ever heard the statement? heard a statement said, uh, first the Germans hated the Jews, so they killed them. Then they hated them because they killed them. You know, um,
Yeah.
so it could be. I think it's more of that, to where, like, once shame sets in, you kind of double down. Uh, and that was and from W.E. Du Bois' point of view, that was the problem with Reconstruction. Reconstruction didn't have a shot because the South, they doubled down on the previous system.
Yeah. I can see that, but that I think that's why racism is different in the South than it is in the North, in the Midwest, and the West. Everybody talk about the South being so racist. I've I lived in Minnesota. I lived in California. I found racism to be more racist everywhere except for the South.
Yeah,
My point of view.
yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I mean, hell, I stay in the Pacific Northwest. Uh, I used to stay in Portland. Now I stay in Southern Washington. I work in Northern Washington. Um, it's a very peculiar thing, and it's something that you can't even explain to, like, people who haven't been outside, like Black people that haven't been outside of the South, like the
Hmm.
ADOS community that have not been outside of the South. They don't understand um, the difference. One of the reasons, cause I mean, the South is being indicted, right? Because it's not so much that they had racism. It's one, that they had slavery. Two, that they fought to protect slavery, and three, after slavery was abolished, they fought to create the same system, uh, under a different name, namely through black codes and then Jim Crow, right? And so racism was overtly uh, overtly protected within the political construct in the South. Uh, Outside of the South, racism was not overt. It was still there, but they tried to reimagine. But they tried to, sort of. It was sort of like an undercurrent. Like, people talk about redlining, right? And particularly, like, in the West, um, people talk about redlining in the West. I don't particularly think that redlining is the cause for some economic disparity, because Black people could have built up their own communities just like white people did. We chose not to. That's a whole
Or
nother
yeah.
discussion, though. But but
or yeah, or any other race of people that built up their community, not just whites.
yeah,
We
yeah.
we always use white
Uh,
people as the standard, which I'm sick of. You know what I'm saying? Because what makes them the standard. You see what I'm saying? So why do we use that as a standard? But go ahead.
but yeah, I mean, I get that. I think the reason they made the standard is because the country was built for them. You know,
Right, right. But Indian Americans, the not natives, but the from
yeah,
India,
the Eastern
they
Indians,
yeah,
yeah,
there you go. They do better than white people. Chinese do better than white people.
yeah, the Asians.
Yeah, the whole Asian community. I mean, so if you really want to look at the standard, either one of those would be it because they outperform everyone.
Yeah, but that's more recent.
It doesn't matter that it's more recent. The facts are they outperform everybody. So if you're going to use a standard, you use the people that came here on their own, obviously. but they outperform everybody because they believe in the true American way. Work your way to the top, community building. And they did it without uh, democracy. They did it. They did it without laws to help them get ahead. Even though they did kind of piggyback off of civil rights and stuff.
Yeah, some of the civil rights stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, clearly the whole if you, hey, Crystal,
I know.
uh,
Hold on, cuz. Hold on.
yeah,
No, we're in the middle of a live. I'm in the middle of a live. Okay. I ain't going to no baby shower. Yeah, my bad, cuz.
yeah, it's all good. Yeah, so I mean, so one of the biggest, deciders for like when they're measuring like household GDP or household income, and what groups have the highest. Asian Asian Americans, which includes Chinese and Indian Americans. At least from the statistic that I saw, said they include both Eastern Indian and just like Chinese and the descendants. One of the reasons uh, they have the highest earnings per household is uh, they have a higher uh, labor participation, which is only about a couple percent. I think Asians they participate in the labor market around 65 to 67%. Whites participate in the labor market 62. Blacks participate in the labor market 63%. But the primary reason is because they have a much lower divorce rate. Like single family households are pretty much non-existent for Asian Americans, and so they just have a two parent household income. Um, and some of that, so a lot of that stuff is just structurally. I personally think that the reason, so they are not, as a community, they don't participate in politics. This guy named Jason Riley makes this good point, and he says that political power is essentially it works as the antithesis of economic power. It's like typically when groups get into political movements, usually it does not bear itself out economically. Usually there's a regression economically, and that makes sense, right? Because um, political like political leaders benefit from um, off of subsidies, right? So they have to have a reason to give you money because that's the only way that that's the way that they make their money.
I got
You get,
you.
you
Well,
get what I'm saying?
oh yeah, yeah, I get it. I told you I was not voting for a little while, maybe a long while. Who knows? Uh, but you say they deliberately falsified uh textbooks and told the story wrong. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, so like kind of getting into this discussion of Reconstruction because the book is called Black Reconstruction. I know you believe that we're still in Reconstruction. Um, I don't, I don't believe that because mainly because what was Reconstruction? Reconstruction was essentially the restoring of the South to the Union. That was really what it was. But the discussion was, can we restore the South? So you had the undercurrent discussion was, well, what's the black, what to do about the black problem, right? Uh, the South has 4 million people, 500,000 of which were necessities to actually defeat the South. And so essentially they fought for their political for their economic freedom, which which is slavery, which was the abolishing of slavery. They fought for economic freedom, but during that fight they earned a political voice. And what's that called? That's called democracy, right? 4 million people should have a say in how this country is shaped. Um, the South, but I think the thing that we often forget about was nobody liked the ADOS community. No one liked the descendants of slaves. No one liked the black people, the 4 million black people that were here, outside of a handful of truly Christian abolitionists. You know, and those were the ones who actually, you know, created the climate, of course, for civil rights to even become to even be. I mean, the Civil War to even be, or emancipation to even be. And so, when you have essentially an entire country that's anti black people, uh, even if it's 4 million of us, we don't get it. We don't get a say. And so essentially, what happened was uh, the South played the part, and when the Union soldiers were gone, they sought to repress us in the same manner that we were in, just not as economic slaves. Just not as economic slaves, but definitely second class citizens.
It was still economic slaves because they used the jail system for one to do it, and they also use e-
Black
you
codes.
know, not just black codes, but with well, even with black codes. Because okay, now you don't want me to patronize your business, so I have to patronize other black businesses. So our money stayed in our community because we couldn't spend it with them. So we were still, but we still needed resources, some from them. So we were still economically abused by them, just in a different
Yeah,
way.
yeah. So yeah, and I mean, I commented on some people, black conservative group that one guy that that dogs out Dr. King and dogs out the civil rights movement. They made some, you know, I think they make light of like what the actual reality was for black people pre civil rights movement. That being said, some of them had a point. Like so I don't think we needed white people to generate wealth. Like that is absolutely absurd to me. We didn't need white people to generate wealth. Uh, it would have been nice to have things like uh, protection under the law. It would have been nice to have like protection under the law. Like so because um, in I think chapter 7 in the book, W.E.B. Du Bois gets into it's called looking backwards, that chapter, where he talks about how he talks about the condition of the South and their position towards the freeing of slaves. And one of the things that's repeated through testimony is that most of the Southerners believed that slavery would be reinstated once they conceded to the demands of the Union. But also uh, the idea, the sentiment for whites in the South was we own them. And so what did that include? That included one of the things that I read was I said about 1 to 3 black men were reported to be killed in Alabama and Mississippi daily following following the end of the Civil War, and they were like, look, to rob a black person was not considered robbery. To steal a black person's land was not considered stealing. To kill a black man was not considered killing. So you don't have this protection under the law. It makes it difficult to build anything. Now, on the flip side, they confiscated the guns through the black codes. They made it illegal for black people to have guns and things like that. But hey, have them anyways. Look, you could. I feel like they still could have fought. I feel like our ancestors still could have fought, but I also think that that just wasn't part of our DNA. We seem to be more occupied with the idea of peace than we did than we were with the idea of I don't know, respect or something like that.
Do you believe that was pre? Do you think that was ingrained in so many the minds of so many slaves that's where that comes from, or do you think that was just natural?
I think it's in our DNA. I think it's in our DNA even till today. Black. So one of the destabilizing things for black communities, right, is, excuse my language, but all the niggas got the guns, and the black folks don't own it. I think it's part of our DNA. I think it's, and I also think it's largely been to the. I think I don't want to say it's been to the detriment, because I think there is value. I think there's greater value in peace than war. However, I heard this comedian say, like, if you're a pacifist, you got to be, you got to just accept suppression, and so, like, if you have this conversation with a liberal, right?
Mm-hmm. No,
like if you have this conversation with.
There's a lag or something going on. Yeah, like the old saying goes, God made man, Smith and Wesson made him even. So, at least keep a gun on you, just to keep the fight fast, so you don't have to fight.
Yeah, and, I mean, I'm not even, I don't own a gun. I'm not a gun toter. I believe in pacifism. I believe in pacifism, but I still also recognize the struggle. Like, for instance, Wyoming, Utah, Montana, they have some of the highest gun participation per household in the country. Everybody owns a gun in those states. Like, yeah, everybody participates in the Second Amendment in those states, right? And this is something that is also true, right? They participated in it illegally. This is something that's also true. They have the lowest crime rate in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They have Wyoming.
Well, you know what else?
Montana.
They also have the smallest black population in the country. That I said the quiet part out loud, didn't I?
Yeah. Well, but yeah. So why do you think that though? Why do you think that though? Do you think it's just that you're gonna go full on Nick Fuentes on me? You think it's just genetically embedded in us?
Here's the thing. No. Here's the thing. All right. Obviously, I do believe it's a small population of black people that make the large population of black people look bad. I truly do believe that. I believe that they
that's more propaganda, though.
Right. Well, here's the it's not just propaganda. It's just a small group of people making the large sum of us look poorly. And it's done by design. I believe it's done by design. Yeah, go ahead with your point.
Okay.
It's done by design, and they also uh, it's really not a black issue. It's a societal issue when you took when you degraded the black community the way you did, made women believe they didn't need a man in the household, made the man feel less than a man by not being able to be uh, competently employed to take care of a family. The drug war in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s. It was just a lot, you know what I'm saying, that has to do with it. And it's by my idea, all by design, but I still fall back to the point of nobody made black people sell drugs. Then nobody put no dope in your hand and tell you, make this money like this. So it's a lot that we have to own, you
Yeah.
know. So, but
Yeah. Um, I mean, I agree with you to some extent. Like I think the propaganda is the main key. Like W.E.B. Du Bois, in the final chapter, the propaganda of history, he talks about how history sought out to define the black contribution, uh, the black American contribution to the Reconstruction in a way that was negative. And so they sought out examples of, they sought out examples that can prove black people were inferior, black people were uneducated, things
they
like that.
still do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Instead of taking the data, for what it is and say, okay, based on, if I take this entire sample size and say, okay, based on this is the identity for blacks. No, they are incentivized to pull out the negative uh this the negative parts of our community and put that at the forefront to be defined as what black is.
But
Uh,
they don't do it for themselves, though, do they? Because you can go
because they're
through a
not
trailer
incentivized
park.
to do that.
Right, right, right. I'm saying, but you can go through a trailer park and see more niggerish shit anywhere. You can go through the the black slums where white people also live and see niggerism out of them. You know what I'm saying? You can see it out of like there's one thing that I learned about Fourth Ward, where we grew up at, right? Is that a
Yeah,
lot of people don't understand that used to be where they sent the Jews when they first came to America.
yeah,
And it had a different
yeah.
name, something bottom or some I can't remember, buttermilk bottom or some I don't know. But anyway, the name got changed to Fourth Ward, and then
Well, it
they
used to be
leased it
Bedford
out to
Pine.
niggas. Well, it's still
Yeah,
Bedford
Bedford
Pine,
Pine. Yeah,
but the area is called
yeah.
Fourth Ward from Auburn Avenue all the way, or just past Auburn Avenue, all the way down to what East Ponce.
Yeah, I thought we gave it the name Fourth Ward. Black people did.
No, the police did.
Yeah, because they said it reminded them of New Orleans.
No, Atlanta was breaking up into wards, and those were precincts,
Oh, okay, okay.
just like
I didn't know.
precinct one, precinct five. Yeah, it was all it
Yeah,
was done by the police or that
yeah.
how they sectioned it off or whatever. But
Well, I know that was how
but
they
anyway,
named areas in New Orleans. But no, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So the problem is that so we spent essentially a century trying to battle the propaganda. Like if you read the early findings of the NAACP, the NAACP was very particular in protecting the image of the descendants of slaves. Like they were to the point. This is in the African American Museum. Uh, the NAACP used to protest people like Flip Wilson because he would put on a dress, and they were like, "We don't need white people seeing black men that way." And so they would tell black people not to watch, not to participate, not to watch this stuff. So they were like all of our institutions up, uh, uh, of course, coming out of Reconstruction, because Reconstruction, I believe, was a bit different. Because there are discussions uh, that the leaders of some things like the Freedmen's Bureau were bought off, and by the Southern planters and the Northern capitalists, what's called, I think, called carpetbaggers. Uh, uh, they were bought off, and therefore they were no longer interested in working on behalf of the free slaves. But there was a point to where, like, when we controlled, it was, the term would be sort of like a power undercurrent. Like, when we controlled the system, our structures, our institutions, and they were ignored politically by the federal government and at large, we had a different strategy uh, to cement our place in the country. And it was I've said this before to a few people. We used to have a culture of, we would insulate ourselves, so our community was insulated. So whatever happened inside our community, we didn't like, it wasn't promoted. Like, so the criminality that may have existed in the black community, the rest of the country did not see. But we also understood assimilation. So we were insulated culturally. We assimilated, nationally. So, because we understood one of the key things um, was called human capital. So the development of skills gives you human capital, which then gives you equity within the system, right? Um, we understood those two things, and that is how we built. That's how we built our community. You know, but when we became political, when we became political pawns, the system, it just reinserted itself. Like, whatever they were trying to reinstitute, uh, and during Reconstruction, uh, they were successfully able to institute, to to implement after the civil rights uh, structure. Because they just, because we became political currency, which I think we
Do you
always
think we
were.
should still be participating in the political uh,
I don't think so.
framework? Okay, then what should we be doing?
Well, so let me rephrase that. Um, it is our right as citizens of the country to participate in the democratic process of the democratic process of the country, the political structure, right? It is our right to do that. So I don't think that it's a problem to say yay or nay. What I think is, what's the bigger problem is intelligent participation, right? I think that the real problem is intelligent participation. Because if we participate intelligently, and to me, participating intelligently is also saying, look, I don't like either one of these motherfuckers. Like, we don't have, so I'm not gonna vote. Like, I think that is part of participating intelligently. Um, but if we can participate intelligently, then I think it gives us leverage. The problem is, we're still too fucking racist. Like, black people, descendants of slaves, are too racist to participate in the democratic political structure intelligently.
I think if we just made our own party and all voted for that one party, they will start having to take us seriously. I mean, we don't have enough voting power to make that one party actually significant in the process of the election, but it will send a sharp message to the two party system.
Mm-hmm. We could do it locally, though.
Yeah, we can do it locally,
We could do it.
definitely.
We could do it locally.
But the problem is uh, getting all of the community on board. You know, first we got to work there.
Uh,
I think we shouldn't be involved in politics on any level right now until we can figure out how to get each other together to participate together. And part of that would be you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet, right? Uh,
mhm.
We need to turn some of these dope boys in. In other words, we need to get some of these people who are not going to participate with us out of the whole process. Just y'all
Mm.
going somewhere.
Yeah, you know what? So I was listening to it's this one guy. He's like African guy that he does some type of podcast and he has like different people on there. And he was asking this black girl. I believe she was Haitian. Uh, he said the problem with Black America is they don't have true identity. He said
They
they
don't
don't
have
have a
what?
true identity. He said we don't.
Oh yeah,
He said they don't have a true identity. And he asked her. Now she's Haitian, right? But he asked
I
her.
saw that.
He said, "What you saw that?" He was like, "What's the identity of Black America? What is one thing you would attribute to them?" And you know what she wanted to say, right? But she also knew she couldn't say it because she said
Mm-hmm.
they do have an identity. And then he was like, "What is it?"
Mm-hmm.
And we know what she wanted to say, right? What she wanted to
Yeah.
say. I'll let you say it. I'll let you say
Uh,
it.
uh, you let me say it. What? Rap music.
Yeah.
Uh, shucking and jiving and cooking collard greens.
Yeah. Criminality. Criminality. That's that's that like that's really that's really what she wanted to say. Like niggas, they out here being niggas.
uh,
That's their identity.
what?
uh,
Well, when
uh,
you invite a woman to the White House named Glorilla, who makes songs
yeah,
about her pussy, and she's supposed to be the representation of the black community and pull you in to vote for a particular party.
yeah. When you have women on stage at the DNC convention twerking, and black people out here talking about, oh man, did you see that? That was a party. Like, why would I? Like, word? Like, word? Yeah, like that's what y'all concerned with. Uh, yeah. So, like, what I think, and this is, I always talk about this. This is the hope of this whole project to me is that we can recover the identity that we used to have because we used to have an identity, like, and that
Right.
identity used to be, that identity used to be, hardworking, God fearing, conservative people. And that's not revisionist history. Like it's documented. You know,
Right.
uh, I'm not saying that to try to make my people look good. No, that shit documented. Do you know for the first 100 years, what was it? For the first, not for the first 100 years. I think it was immediately following the Civil War. You had Andrew Johnson who succeeded, who took control of the White House um, through the assassination of Lincoln, right? And Andrew Johnson was a Democrat. Uh, he was under, the Republican Party was a new party, and he ran under he was the partner. He ran as the vice president with Lincoln, but once Lincoln was assassinated, he uh, he took office, and he was a Democrat. After Andrew Johnson's political his term ended, I believe the Republicans pretty much swept the presidential election all the way up to FDR. It was about, it may have been, it was like 50, 60 years or something like that. All the way up to FDR. Black people during that time voted over 90% Republican. Now, it sounds crazy because you have to understand Lincoln was the first Republican president. The Republican Party was only in effect for 6 years prior to Lincoln's inauguration. So they had completely won over the black community, right? We all understood it was on their efforts, their laws that brought about the ending of slavery. After FDR was a pro-labor president. I also didn't know they would have had they would let FDR. FDR would have still been in office if the motherfucker
Till
wouldn't
the
have died.
day he died. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
They would have
but
kept him in office forever.
forever. They was like, I was like, what? Like, I didn't know that he just kept getting elected. But he was a pro-labor president. He actually shifted the black vote from 90% Republican. I think it was the majority. The Democrats gained the majority under FDR, and then from there, it actually swept. They actually just swept our vote, and we became pretty much 90% Democrat. Going into the 60s.
Yeah, I thought it was JFK that did it. I
No,
thought we were
it
still
was
voting
FDR.
majority. Okay, I thought we were still majority voting Republican up till JFK.
No, it was FDR. I believe when by the time JFK came, it was like 90%. But it might have been that before. I actually have it in my chat GPT. I got statistics, but it'll take me a while to go through that thing. But yeah, so don't get me wrong, like I don't think so. Here's the interesting thing. I'll bring this up with you. This is something the discussion that I had with a friend of mine. So think about this, right? So we're like 90% pro Republican, right? FDR comes, we become majority labor, which like reading this booklet, I help you understand that there were actually two Democratic parties. Like there were Northern
Right,
Democrats
I remember
that were
Southern
pro
Democrats.
labor, that was pro union, and there were Southern Democrats, right? That were actually the extension of the
KKK.
old planter class. Yeah, there's old planter class. Yeah, in the agrarian system, right? So think about this. So you had FDR, who was a Northern Democrat. No, FDR is from the South, wasn't he?
South, yeah, I believe so.
So yeah, I believe he's from the South. I believe he's from Georgia.
No, Hyde Park, New York.
Okay, so FDR is from the North, right?
Yeah.
JFK, we know is from the North, right? JFK is from the North, right? Two Northern Democrats. They killed JFK. The next three prominent Democrats, the next two prominent Democrats, is it next to it? No, was that with? I can't remember. I can't remember exactly. But they killed JFK. Yeah. The next three, I believe. So you have the next three prominent Democrats that killed JFK, and then you get LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, who
Yeah,
is what?
yeah, yeah.
A Southern Democrat,
Democrat.
right?
Yeah,
Then then you get Carter, who is also a Southern
a
Democrat.
Southern Democrat.
And then you get Bill Clinton, who is also a
A Southern
Southern
Democrat.
Democrat. You're
Hmm.
right. and so we see this runoff with Southern Democrats, right? And we also see the sort of decline of the black community. I don't know if that's coincidental or not. I'm just saying that's pretty, you know, all of these Southern Democrats take place. They killed JFK. All of these Southern Democrats take place, and it just seems like the
The black community shifts
so
for the worse.
yeah, the old guarantees seem to be reinstituted. Um, I don't know if that's coincidental. I just know that it's
I
pretty
don't believe in
weird.
coincidences. It
Yeah,
ain't a whole lot of things that are coincidental, and that ain't one of them. You vote the way you vote because you've been trained to vote that way. You think the way you think
yeah,
because especially if you're involved in social media and a lot of TV, you're programmed to think that way. If you're not read, if you're not doing your own research, your own studying, taking time to disconnect from this uh, digital world we are so involved in, if you don't take time
mhm,
daily, not just once a week, but daily to disconnect from that and to do some real introspective work, thinking on your own, reading. You're and read
yeah,
something you don't agree with, just to see, hey, where you coming from. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
without those things, like people used to read the newspaper, and there's no way you agree with everything that was in the newspaper because it was written by 40 different people who all had their own little section to put their little twist on the story. So no, I
yeah,
mean, there's no way
yeah.
you could be involved in today's society fully and have your and I think really have your own opinions. You got to be disconnected a little bit.
No, I totally agree 100%. I think
But as you
this
were
may
saying,
be. Uh,
go ahead.
I would say this may be a hard truth, and I'm not like I try my best to be nonpartisan, like apolitical. I try to just look at the history and let that determine. I try to look at the evidence and the history to try to determine my positions. With that being said, there is a case with what I was just talking about that the Southern Democrats
Hmm.
always have always believed that the descendants of slaves were their property, and they have fought even to this day to keep control. Like I don't know. Like I said, it just I think these are just questions that I ask myself. Like and unfortunately, I can't undo what I read in history because it was history. And so, like I'm just somebody that say one of the reasons I don't vote anymore is because I can't in good conscience vote Democrat because of the history and some of the things that I am seeing that makes me believe that they still operate from the same with the same attitude, being we still own these people. Uh, and so I can't in good conscience vote for them. And so one of the reasons, like I said, I don't vote because unless we get a third party, I would always be voting Republican. And I don't want to be partisan because I just feel like that's just too much leverage. That's just too much power.
Yeah, I'm to the point now where I voted on both sides of it, Republican and Democrat.
Yeah, I
But
have
but
before
I'm
too.
to the point. Yep. But I'm to the point now to where I feel like, I can in good faith vote for a party that tells that is going to tell my daughters that killing their child is okay because it's their body. I can't support a group in good faith that's going to tell me that uh, civil rights are now for people with identity crisis.
Hmm.
I can't vote for a party in good faith that's going to tell me that because I'm black I should I deserve a certain treatment or all that stuff. No, if I work hard enough, I deserve something. If I
Exactly. More
participate,
agency.
I right. I deserve
Hmm.
something. I don't believe in, and it's to the point now with even with the Republican Party. They they say you shall bend but not break. They're bending the things that I just don't agree with. I do believe I'm going to be judged by God Almighty, the God of Abraham,
Hmm.
Isaac, and Jacob. I'm going to be judged by Him and Him alone, not
Hmm.
me, not you, not anybody listening or watching. And since I'm going to be judged by Him, what I do with my vote matters. And voting, I mean, they say vote for the lesser of two evils. Why should I vote for evil at all? So
Yeah,
I'm
really.
not right. I'm not participating in voting for my demise, my grandchildren's demise, whether they're born or unborn, or for my parents' demise. Uh, well, my mom's only alive right now, but I'm not. I cannot, in good faith, participate in that, knowing that my actions are going to be judged by Almighty God, and I'm not going to. I cannot continue to participate.
Yeah. Well, you know what caused the Republican Party to lose the ADOS vote? Uh, they were sympathizers with the South. Well, let me not say sympathizers. They felt they felt guilty about what they did, essentially, and so after they won the war, and of course they won the war not because they were
Better, stronger, or yeah,
yeah, yeah. They won the war not because they were better, stronger, they won the war because they were the first to enlist the black, uh, the uh, the uh, the participation of freed black men. Like
right.
and so they had access to essentially over 4 million peoples that were not considered citizens yet. They made them
And
citizens. They enlisted. They armed 200,000 freed, uh, freed, uh, freed
slaves,
black people. Yeah, they armed 200,000 of them. They got the participation of another 300,000 for non-combat labor, and they won the war on the backs of black men, right? Uh, and so they were, they felt guilty about it. Like I said, they didn't come into the war wanting to end slavery. They came into the war wanting to, you know, get the North
not
to
expand
agree. I mean, get
slavery.
the South, yeah, to not expand slavery. They wanted them to participate in the expansion of industry, not feudal agrarianism. Uh, and so when this war was over, they became highly sympathetic to the South, and so Du Bois says that the Civil War lasted from 1854 to 1876, which was presidential election turned out to be when the Union soldiers were officially extracted from the South, 1876, um, and the and essentially the Republican Party said, okay, we're going to protect states' rights to govern themselves. So it was limited federal government, and black people were upset because they were still being, essentially slaughtered, beaten, things like that, and there was no intervention on the federal side. Uh, so essentially, Republican Party doubled down on the limited government, and the South, the states took advantage of that because the Confederacy was still intact. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then, of course, you get to the civil rights, which was a call for um, federal intervention. You get civil rights, which was a call for federal intervention. Federal intervention uh, destroyed Jim Crow and all of those different things, and which was our strategy, by the way. We our strategy that was, I believe, it was put together by was it
Who you
Thurgood
gonna say?
Marshall?
Marshall?
Yeah, was it Thurgood Marshall? That the original strategy was to try different laws that we felt were unjust, get them brought up to appeal in the Supreme Court to get an official ruling, because the ruling would allow the laws to be overturned or redefined in a way that's more democratic.
Okay.
And that was the basis for the civil rights. So federal intervention was a major part of our strategy. Um, and I believe that's one of the reasons the Republican Party lost the Democratic. I mean the descendants of slaves that vote. We're seeing the opposite, by the way, with Trump.
You think they going back towards Trump?
Who
Adolf?
black?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of black Trump supporters.
I I I can see it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Trump from a black perspective. Uh, I do have a problem with some of the stuff that Trump do as an American.
Right, right, right.
But from a black perspective, I mean, he's just the thing I give Trump is I think he is very aware of history. He seems to be extremely aware of history, and he uses it in two ways. One, he uses it to justify some of the questionable things that he may or may not do. But I think the other thing that he's doing, particularly with black people, I think he seems to have an inside, like an inside look at what matters to us in general, right? Like what we say amongst ourselves. He seems to have a good ear for that, because like the deployment of the National Guard to high crime rated areas that are predominantly black is something that black people have been crying about for decades, for decades, and but we only do it when it's a Democrat in office, right?
Yeah.
And so he just took that and said, okay, if this is what y'all really want, I'm gonna give it to you. Did you see the Dave Chappelle stand up to do it?
I saw part of it. I didn't see all of it. Is
Did
it
you see
good?
the one we talked about? He pulled up on DC. He was like, "It looked clean, guys."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw part. It looked pretty good.
man
Yeah,
said he looked
I saw
clean.
that.
I'm
Yeah,
not gonna lie to
yeah,
you.
yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the federal intervention, that's what I mean. Like, now, here's another discussion. Do you think, like, I'll put this to you. Do you think that it is intentional for black communities to have leaders that seemingly are incapable of building strong communities? Do you think that's intentional?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why I say that. All right. It's here's the thing, man. All right. So first of all, who is saying these are our leaders, and why are they being propped up in front of us? You know what I'm saying?
What I mean by leaders are people who actually were elected, democratically elected to office in communities, like the mayor in
Oh, wait a minute.
Chicago.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. First of all, we know part of that problem is that uh, first of all, there's more black women than black men, and black
Mm-hmm.
women vote heavily Democrat, heavily
Mm-hmm.
Democrat, and a black woman will vote just using this for you know, black women will vote for a black woman just because she's a black woman, not because she's qualified, not because she has a track record, but because she's a black
Mm-hmm.
woman and she say some old black girl magic stuff, and they will
Yeah.
put her in office, and then here she is, 8 months later, caught stealing, taking
Mm-hmm.
trips on government money, just got her boyfriend a seat that he don't deserve, got her side
Mm-hmm.
nigga a seat he don't deserve. You know what I'm saying? So we not gonna we I
But
was
okay,
I think it is
go ahead.
intentional,
Go ahead.
and the
Go ahead.
reason we have put we have put women in general, not just black women, women in general. We have put them in a place they should not be. With that in mind, you're going to start having problems when you start getting a female run society or a highly influenced society, um, female influenced society. So yeah, I think it is by design.
Yeah. What about Winsome Earl Sears? You know who that is?
Who? No.
Winsome Earl Sears. She was
I'm
a
gonna look him
black
up. Go ahead.
Republican. That was a female Republican that ran in the past election in Virginia. She was a conservative, right?
What's her name again?
This is just this Winsome, Winsom. Yeah,
Okay.
Earl. You got her.
Sears.
She
Yeah, I
ran.
got her.
Yeah, Sears. She ran as a Republican in the state of Virginia,
Right.
and black women overwhelmingly voted against her in
Mm-hmm.
the state of Virginia. They instead voted for a white woman who was a Democrat. It's this girl on
I
on
heard about that.
YouTube
Yeah.
that has a black conservative. She actually brought up the issue. So during Winston Earl Sears' um, rally, one
Campaign.
of her rallies, during her campaign rally, there was a white woman who had a sign stood up, holding it up, saying, "If transgenders can't use your bathrooms, you can't use our water fountains." This is a
Ooh.
white Democrat woman that say some racist bullshit like that. Black people didn't have a fucking thing to say, you know. So, like, I think you're right that the reason I'm bringing this up is because I think that is evidence, right, of two things uh, that we are controlled, that the major like that there is a control issue over the ADOS community that the Democratic Party operates under, because this neoliberal bullshit, like this transgender identity stuff, that was something that we didn't even, we like before Obama, we were like, man, we ain't for that shit, like,
Right.
you know, that when we understood where we stood when it came to that, but
Mm-hmm.
also we knew how to deal with it because we all, it was always gay people in the black community, in the black churches
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. We knew how to deal with it. We knew, like, look, don't let your kids. You remember they used to tell us this shit.
Uh-huh.
You know, don't be talking to him, or
Yeah.
don't
Mm-hmm.
be with him if he invites you to his house. You can't go with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we understood that. We understood how to protect our
Mm-hmm.
kids. We understood how to deal with them, and it wasn't a thing. It wasn't until the Obama administration that sort of swoop that gave this sort of broadening of this scope of these neoliberal ideologies. But again, I think it is. I think, like you said, I think it is intentional that we don't put the people who are actually qualified, educated, innovative leaders into positions of power in our communities, but we put corrupt people that can be controlled and that is subscribed to
Mm-hmm.
the agenda uh, that 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 causes the destabilization of our communities, that causes uh, the it's what the leakage of resources, the extraction of resources out of our communities, uh, and so we put people like that in power, uh, because again, I just think they're incentivized. There is an incentive to keep black people under the control of the old planter class. Uh, it, it's to the benefit of them. It's to the benefit of them, not to the benefit of us.
I got a question. Why do you think black people feel that it's such a bad idea to assimilate into American society without trying to depend on the acceptance at the same time?
To depend on the acceptance.
We want to be accepted by, we always talking about white folks need to treat us this way. White folks need to do this. We need this from white people.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Getting them to accept the way we are and the acceptance, the whole set. Why can't we just assimilate to a society that is proven to work? The system they have constructed around the world that is proven to work. If you just, okay, these are the rules, let's follow the rules, but we can do it over here without worrying about how you look at us.
Yeah. So I think that's two different. I think there's two separate issues with that. So I'm gonna separate the question. Like, when you talk about the acceptance thing, that's mostly just propaganda, right? That's mostly just propaganda. Um, Black people don't want to be accepted by white folks. Black
Okay.
people are more racist than white folks. Modern day black society, we are more racist than white folks. Like, we use we use this acceptance thing as a talking point. I personally believe that has more to do with neoliberal alternative lifestyle ideas than it do black people ideas. But you know what they say: if you tell a lie so many times, if you hear a lie so many times, it becomes the truth. I believe
Uh-huh.
that I believe that it's sort of this echo chamber that says, you know, oh, this is a talking point. Why don't y'all accept us? Why don't y'all love us? Why don't y'all believe us? When in actuality, behind closed doors, like all the black people I know be on some man, fuck them crackers. Like all the black people that I grew up around would be on some fuck them crackers. And so if you have those, like if you have those true talking points, like so those two things are separate, right? Now when you come to when you talk about the issue of assimilation or integration, because I think those are the same thing. I really just think I think just like you think that black people are still in Reconstruction, I think we are in rebellion, and I think we have been in rebellion. I actually think that it's winding down now, but I think we have been in rebellion essentially since the civil rights movement. I think black
Hold
people.
on, hold on. I think you got one thing wrong. Integration and the simulation, I don't see as being the same thing.
Why do you think they're different?
Uh, Integration is what the civil rights movement did and destroyed the black community to a certain extent. But we had already assimilated before that. We were doing the things that they were doing that they claimed we were not civilized and we could not carry ourselves in a civilized way. We was doing all those things, and then we stopped working with each other because we were essentially forced to, because of segregation, Jim Crow laws. We was forced to work together, and once we no longer were forced to, and we could work with other people, then we integrated our already assimilated society and came up with the Bourgeois. Them niggas didn't want to be
Oh,
around
the
niggas. They
bourgeoisie,
already didn't want to be bourgeoisie, whatever. Yeah,
bourgeoisie,
they already didn't want to be
yeah,
around niggas, but
bourgeoisie.
now they had the right to be around white folks. Now it disappeared, like for real, for real. Then it became more of a. I think that's where the acceptance part came in and the integration. I think we was already assimilated. I think we was already part of the culture. We were doing the things that they thought we couldn't do as a community.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dog, so the reason I think those two things are together, right? Um, okay, so here's the thing: like the way that you tell it is the way that history, that like let's say mainstream history tells it. That black people were doing their thing, they were good. White people were doing their thing, they were good. We separate, sort of like separate but equal idea, and then the discussion of integration came along, and this is what we tell our, particularly in our community. Integration came along and it destroyed the black community because integration meant that really what it meant was competition, right? So a black person, so black wealth could now flow, didn't work, was not constrained to black communities, but black wealth had the right to go and support other communities, like white communities and things like that. Yeah, I get that, and I do think to some degree that was true. The reason I say it was the same is because integration was happening naturally. Integration was not just happening because of the laws that were passed. Integration was happening naturally. Assimilation, particularly in a capitalist society, will always cause integration to happen, right? We saw it primarily in sports, but we also saw it in the labor force, particularly in the North, in the unions, because there were not enough white men to fill the void in industrial factories Black people migrated north, and we joined union labor movements as well. That was one of the primary reasons we were able to make nominal gains economically and relative gains to white families, because while black families had a I actually just looked up the unemployment rates as well, because while white families had a family structure of the man goes to work hard, he takes care of the kid. I mean, and the woman stays home, take care of the kids and things like that. Black women were always Black women were accustomed and were always a part of the workforce, and as a legacy of slavery. And so when we migrated to towns like Detroit and New York and Newark, New Jersey, and were able to join unions and factory jobs as a result, and the black woman either was a school teacher or a caregiver
Nurse.
or a
Hmm.
nurse or maid and things like that, that actually gave us the advantage over black communities. And the integration was already happening at that point.
You mean
Uh,
the advantage over
they
white communities?
codified it. Say what?
You mean the advantage over white communities? You said the advantage over black communities.
Well, yeah, well, black families had the advantage because black women were willing to work.
Yeah, that's what
That's
I'm saying.
essentially.
Yeah, but you said the other way
Yeah.
around. That's all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, black families had the economic advantage because black women were willing to work. They were willing to work and take care of the children. But I also think that it was an insulated, because we insulated. So in other words, we didn't integration was not happening to where black wealth could migrate to where white wealth was, and assimilate there. But it was happening, particularly through the lower and middle class whites. Uh, this is a story that's been repeated dozens of times by poor white people that I've met, right? That said, when I was a kid, we were poor. We lived in a black neighborhood, and my family and my household was hell. They'd be like, I had a drunk daddy, I had a drunk mom. We had to fend for ourselves, and the black family that lived across from us was a Christian, conservative, highly functional family, and so that's actually a story that I've heard from quite a few white people. Um, so yeah, so integration was already happening, uh, and it was due to assimilation. Now,
I'm not.
when I
Go ahead.
talk about when I talk about rebellion, the reason I say that I think that we are in the midst of a black rebellion is because I think we just have the evidence of it, right? Like black men have far outseated their numbers when it comes to crime. Uh, uh, the the narrative that exists in primarily black communities is uh, this ain't our system, this ain't our country, this ain't our home. They stole us, and so people largely, there are a lot, and they're few in number, but they're more relative, and they're more relative to any other uh, culture. Uh, they say we are not willing to participate in this system because we believe that that is unjust, it's evil. They stole us from our home, blase, blase, blase. And so there's a level of revolt in that. Now the the other problem is somehow white people even monetize that. And and so that structure is seemingly protected.
I don't know. I think that
So you don't think we're in rebellion? You don't think that there's black rebellion?
No, 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 no. There's been black rebellion since the first slave ship landed. So no, no, hell yeah, we have a sect that is in rebellion. I just think that when it comes to the assimilation and integration, that the way we used to do it is, I think a lot of communities have taken our uh, blueprint, Asians, Mexicans, or Hispanics. They have taken our blueprint of, I will integrate as far as uh, how I can make money, as you said, the unions and all that stuff, and how we can uh, get a lot of our financial gain and things that we can't do for ourselves. We will integrate on those levels, but what they also do now, those groups, the Asians, the Hispanics, Middle Easterns, uh, they, like you say, they're insulated from society
Yeah,
in a way that black people aren't anymore, that we used to
yeah,
be, where we had, like, if the Asian community all came together, and, and if you add in, the Eastern Indians, and the Middle Easterns, you add all them together, they got hotels they can put each other up in. They got businesses for each other to work at. They got they making clothes. They got restaurants. They can, they are insulated. They can take care of each other somehow, some way, right? Uh, but we lost that capability, and we don't have it on the scale
yeah.
that they have it now.
Yeah, yeah. So we lost it. You're right. We lost it because of integration, but I don't think we lost it because of integration. I think we lost it because of rebellion. Because our communities, like Jason Riley makes the argument. It's this book. It's two books that I think we need to cover at some point. Uh, One is the book that they made the movie Hidden Figures after, and I forget the name of the book. I got it. And it's another book that Glenn Lowry and Jason Riley and John Mc, what's his name? John McWaters talks about. Uh, these were two influential books because they're they're one of the books that actually captures what the black community used to look like prior to the 70s, right? Prior to the to the Civil Rights Act, and not just the civil, which was a part of the Great Society Act, right? And the Great Society Act is key because the Great Society Act was about labor, right? That was about uh, it was about income equality and creating economic social safety nets, right? That was the Great Society Act. Civil Rights Act was a part of that. So what's my point is? My point is that it's never really been about race. It's always been about labor and the protection of social class, of certain class, combating social class structures and stuff like that, right? But anyways, Jason Riley and they book like the two that I can't remember that I would like to mention, but I can't remember. Uh, to talk about how black communities, there was a point in history where black communities had higher marriage rates, lower crime rates, and had more economic stability with class mobility and more class mobility, right? The breakdown of that, in my opinion, is what caused the inability to support to have an insulated society to where we can support ourselves in the way that you're saying that. For instance, it's going to cost you 3 times as much money to build a hotel in a black community as it would if you built one in a white community. Why? Because crime is lower, right? The reason you can't have grocery stores in black communities, it has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with profit margin. Grocery stores have the smallest profit margins as a business out of any type of business structure. And so if you're losing money to shrinkage and theft, and not only that, you have to offset that with having a certain level of security,
labor,
and and systems, and you have to protect your labor, so you have to have soup up security. All of that eats at your profit margin, and then you're going to go out of business. And so, like, black people don't understand this. Like, crime is a tax. Crime, like, from a entrepreneur standpoint, crime is a tax, and so you cannot deal with crime. I just saw this in an all white city by the name of Portland, Oregon, right? Where to where those white folks went crazy with these BLM protests. They tore that city up, and guess what? Walmart. There's no longer any Walmarts in the city. There is no longer any Targets in the city. There, like, they just closed down shop. They like, all of these businesses said, "Look, we can't do business here,"
it's time to
and
go.
they just left. Yeah, they just left. They're like, "Look, we can't do business here," and it's because tax is a crime. Like, you can't. Nike shut down all of its stores within the inner city. Now Nike has stores in the suburbs, and Walmart has stores in the suburbs too. But yeah, they just shut down. They was like, "Look, we can't operate within the city limits of Portland." And Nike was
Can't make no
started
money.
in Portland. Yeah, yeah, because it kills your profit margin. So criminality is a big part of building communal infrastructure. Now the other part
But
problem
like
is,
you
I don't
said though,
know it.
there's a time you said that when the family was intact, when employment was pretty decent, but both people had to work. The family was intact. The mother and the husband worked. Uh, the crime rate was lower,
Mhm.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So the 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 thing with that is,
So why was the crime rate
the
lower? Why do you think the crime rate was lower?
families was intact. Jobs were available,
Maybe.
and uh, you can remember growing up in Bedford Pine, nigga. If you got in trouble down the street, them folks might whoop your ass, and they definitely gonna call grandmama and tell, and grandmama gonna call
Yeah.
mama and dad and tell. You know what I'm saying? That was a
Yeah.
real community where snitching didn't get you stitches.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Snitches got your ass.
Snitching got your
Snitch.
ass beat.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody snitched on you, got your ass whooped. You didn't go back down there and do it, or at least you didn't do it over there because you knew that they was gonna tell on you. You had to go over here to see if you can get away with it. You know what I'm saying? So we our whole community mindset is different. We won't even let if somebody see your child in Kroger or Walmart or wherever acting a butt, you're not even gonna let them talk to your child crazy.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been talking, you know what I'm saying? You like who you talking to? No, you ain't checking your child. The community helped you check your child, and then your child knows that they can't be out. They might be able to get away with that at the house with you. They're not gonna get away with that in public society. They're not going to get
Mm-hmm.
away with that out here. And once that is established, and we need to do it to these young black boys running around here and these young black girls running around here with with their ass all out. How does a mother let her child out in public today? And this is part of the reason why I say we're still in Reconstruction, because there was an original Reconstruction. It was just called Reconstruction at the time, but blacks were also reconstructing after the Civil War. I think that we did a great job up until the civil rights movement, even after the civil rights movement. But I think we're still in the Reconstruction because we're trying to build back what we had before, to a certain extent, not everything, but we're trying to build back to what we had before, and we're not there yet. So I think we're still in the Reconstruction. I think that where it starts at is, as they always say, don't come to my house telling me how dirty my house is when your house nasty. We
Yeah.
need to clean up our own community. So that's my point.
Yeah.
That's why I say we're still in construction.
Well, yeah, by that logic, then white people are still in Reconstruction too, because the uh, white American infrastructure is deteriorating. It's white 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 America is experiencing a regression in their communities as well right now.
If you're
So
not trying
I
to
mean,
build
so
forward, you're only going backwards. So yeah, obviously
yeah,
everybody should be in building mode. I think the problem is that we're going to, as Americans, we're allowing people who don't have our values to come in and establish their values. And once they get in political power, we're SOL at that point. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
We out of the loop, because once they get control, they're not going to give it back, and we're not going to get it back without force. And I don't know how many of us are really willing to lose something to gain.
and them crackers will.
And
I
I'll
look.
stand with them. And I'll stand with them.
Look, no. So I think so. There's some things there that I think are possibly uh, the issue. I think, but my position is like I understand social dynamic, which I think uh, as community we have largely focused a lot on the social dynamic and the breakdown of the social structure within our communities. Yes, okay, that's fair. I think now. Well, I'll get into that. Well, I think that maybe we could talk about that later because I think that has more to do with the rebellion aspect, and the denial, like because what they say white right, this whole denial of just maybe the West was right about the way to build a life, the way to build society, and it's our racism that disqualifies us from even giving it a try. Like I remember I had this job. I used to talk to. I had this coworker. He was from Oakland, and he's biracial, right? He's half Philippine, but he wanted to be a nigga so bad, and so he's challenged me on my niggas, and I'm trying to be like, I'm not a nigga,
Right,
so
right,
you can have that, you can have that, but he challenged me on it, and it used to be so weird because I used to be like this guy, he was from Oakland, and so I was like, man, and he was biracial, he was like raised by a Philippine mom, and I'm like, what, like,
hmm
why does this guy think that
he can
black
out nigga
people
me.
that like, no, what I'm thinking is, why does he think why does he identify that as the core culture of my people? Like, like I'm fully black. Like my folks actually come from the descension of slave. They come from slavery. Like my
Right,
people, I
right.
am a descendant of, you know, um, why does he think that that's what is defined as black people. But anyways, right? So we used to have these discussions, and one of the things I told him, we had a discussion about something, and my best reference for it was a Tim Keller sermon, right? Was a Tim Keller sermon. And he agreed, and, he found my position interesting. I was like, look, you should listen to this Christian preacher that I know named Tim Keller. He kind of really builds on this idea. And he was like, yeah, I don't really do that Christian stuff. That's some white folk stuff. And I'm sitting here like, well, if you if you think the position is proper, then you should be willing to accept, at least listen to it. It's like, yeah, shot, nah, I ain't really with that Christian stuff. I don't really believe in all of that. You see what I mean, though? But that's
Mm-hmm.
that's the rebellion aspect. That's the white right type of mentality that we're trying that we that we have been fighting against, instead of saying, okay, what does it mean to be white? What does it mean to be black? And my position has been largely nothing. You know, But what does it mean to be right? What does it mean to be wrong? What does it mean to be truthful? What does it mean to be deceived? Uh, like that's the way I ask. Like I have another discussion. I have a friend who's who I met. I'm a member of the AA group. I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous because I have a drinking problem. Got married. I was like, okay, it's either my wife or the alcohol. I chose my wife, so I got sober. Um, I was at a meeting. I live in an all-white town. Uh, with some real like old school. It's all old white people too. and so uh, I went to an AA meeting up the street. It was one of the first ones I went to here, all men's group, right? Met this black dude. Turns out he wasn't from here. He's from Houston, but he had just had a child, and he recognized that his alcohol and drug addiction could hinder him, being a good father and stuff. So he started he wanted to check out AA. Went to a couple AA groups. Me and him became friends, exchanged numbers, got a bond. And I would ask him, hey, how you doing with your substance abuse and stuff like that? And he was like, man, yeah, I'm struggling. I've been doing all right. I was like, have you been going to meetings? Yeah, I try to, but it's a whole bunch of old white people. And in my mind, I'm like, why does,
That matter.
okay, you're missing the point here. Like, if you think
Right.
it is proper for you to build a life on sobriety,
Sobriety.
yeah, it does not matter if they are white or black or young or old. It matters if they are sober. And
Right.
I just meet far too many black people who can't accept that as a reality. They can't build a life based on that premise. So that's why I say it's rebellion. But to my other point, which is, I also think that the destabilization of black communities is laid at the feet of, it is a strategic thing that has to be laid at the feet of unqualified black politicians that they put in control over black communities. One of the most famous shows that highlights that is The Wire. Where the wire puts a black this white dude who really cares about the community runs for political office, and he gets defeated, of course, by the crooked black guy that has ties to like drug money and all kind of crazy stuff. So the destabilizing of the community through the political infrastructure, I think that is really key. Um,
You know,
I'm not saying that we vote, though. What I'm saying is we need to, if we're going to vote, we have to vote for candidates that are qualified. But I also think it's hard to get qualified candidates in office, because I don't even think people that run that's on the white side are qualified. Like it's not enough money in the political structure right now to even, it's not enough money in it, and we are greedy as a society.
I think if we're gonna start
Tech,
voting, I think I don't know if qualify. I agree. I agree. There needs to be some type of you qualified or whatever. I also think that you need to have the interests of the people. I think if you're not greatly qualified, you can get people around you that'll help you. But I think you really need to have the interests of the people and not be uh, have self interest in as your main focus. I think that's the problem with a lot of people is that they get in the office thinking that they're going to help people, and then they realize the tools and the power that they have at their fingertips. Then they become more self-involved. I do think there's a great rebellion going on in the black community also, and what I've been seeing anyway uh, is that there's a rebellion against the niggerdom, against the hoodness,
but that's new.
against
That's new.
right. Well, that's what I see though. But I'm saying, so
Yeah.
I think that's going in the right way. And I think if that just get a little bit more, you know, weighing behind the sales, it can take off a whole lot better than anything else. But I think first of all, what we need to stop doing is we need to stop boycotting, picketing, and rioting and looting and all this stuff with all other groups for all they causes. I don't care if you're black and gay. Stop riding with the alphabet people. I don't care if you're black and transgender. Stop riding with the alphabet people. I don't care if you're pro-abortion. Stop riding with them. We need to focus on self and self alone, and that is not. I don't see how abortion helps us as a whole. I don't see how gay rights help us as a whole. Any of those things. I don't see how helping ICE help us as a whole. We're here. We're citizens. Our ancestors were slaves here. We don't have nothing to do with what ICE got going on, and we should stay out their damn
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
just
But so I think, and that's the breakdown. That's the breakdown between me and I think like you and other black conservatives. I consider myself a black conservative in a more like just basic in a basic sense to where I believe in the inerrancy of the Bible, which not in the same way that I think some like evangelical Christians and things like that try to institute the Bible. But I believe the Bible is truth. Now, whether that truth is plainly evident or that truth has to be sought after and pursued and drawn out, which I think it has to be drawn out. Uh, but the other thing is I believe in moral agency. But that's really where my breakdown starts. That's really where it ends for me with the black conservative. What I'm seeing now, uh, like from a lot of people who I think agree with you, uh, is there is this sort of fundamental racist position that, or maybe not racist, uh, segregate separatist or segregation position that I think a lot of black people still hold. And don't get me wrong, when I say we insulate, what I'm solely saying is that we have to stop propagating uh, things that exist in our community solely to be propagandized, exploited, and monetized. Like there are certain positions that I think all black people should take. Let me put it this way. In the words of Dave Chappelle, Bill Cosby was a national treasure. right? You know, and whether he did what these white women accuse him of doing or not, I wouldn't dare. It was none of my business. Bill Cosby is a national treasure, right? And I will forever keep that position. Um, for black women to go out and say, yeah, there's something funny about this guy, or yeah, I stand with these white liberal women, I feel like it's disrespectful, right? However, when you talk about like abortion or you know gay or all of this different stuff, that is not intrinsically black. I heard and like that has nothing to do with our community per se. That is not like an attack on our community, but it's just a political position. I think that's a part of being integrated. Like you have a right to vote for your interests. You have a right to represent for your interests. My problem is when is and this is one of my biggest problems with Obama is they didn't just say, okay, this is gay, like this is gay people shit. Like I believe in gay people shit. No, what they said is gay people shit is is anti-Christian, so it's anti-white, so it's pro-black, and so everything that they do has to do with fucking black people. And I'm like, no, no, I'm not gay. I don't give a shit what happens to in their community. So I don't have to support the shit that happens in their community. But if you're gay and you're black, okay. But it's the coupling of the civil rights of our history that I have a problem with. Like I don't have a problem with them fighting for their own cause, but it's the coupling of our history and the hijacking and the co-opting our history to make it fit alt left agendas that I have a major problem with, and that's one of the reasons that, I don't support the Obama administration at all.
Well, you brought something up that made me think that maybe my view was um, can be perceived as being separatist. Now, I
Yeah,
believe that I believe that white people, I believe that Hispanics, I believe that Asians, as a whole, as a group, because I've been to Thailand on more than one occasion. They have what they call lady boys in that Asian community. They know they exist. They let them exist. That doesn't
mm,
mean that they are included. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
Uh,
They
and
exist
I
on the fringes, on the fringes.
right. And but I believe here in America, just because I say that I want what's best for ADOS doesn't mean I don't want what's best for white America. They can both coexist because I believe that if you keep boys boys and girls girls and teach them that sex is between a husband and a wife and so on and so forth, that is good for all communities, not just black.
Yeah,
So I'm not
that's
I'm
not
not
what I
saying
was
that it's
pushing back
separate.
on you on.
Right. But what was you pushing back on then?
Pushing back on the fact that you said black people shouldn't participate in that stuff. And I'm like, look, if you
No,
if
no,
you're
no, no,
black
no, no,
and
no,
you're
no, no.
gay,
I didn't say
you
we
should
should. No,
participate in
no,
that stuff.
no. I believe that you can step back from. Uh, how can I say this? Uh, what do they say in with religious denominations? They say major on the major, minor on the, and don't focus on the minors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Religious
yeah,
difference. So, and I believe the same thing should be as Americans. We should major on the majors and the minor stuff. Let's put that aside for right now. I'm not saying it has to go away forever. I'm just saying give it one election cycle where you just say we're gonna major on the majors together. That's all I'm saying. If you
Are you
wanna
so
on
when you
your
say
free time,
together, are you saying black people you
No,
saying
no, no,
like
no, no, no.
calling on all black people, put aside this other stuff and just focus on black people, things that benefit our community. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying things that benefit becoming American, things that benefit us being like a real part of this society, a productive uh, uh, part of this society where from the outside, if you couldn't see, you just looked at, you couldn't see color, all you could see was numbers. The numbers look the same across the board.
I'm still not completely following what you're saying. I think what you're saying is that us as a country need to put aside this social identity stuff and focus on the core meaning of what is
Being
beneficial
American,
to the country.
what
Okay.
is
Yeah.
beneficial
Okay.
to
Yeah, I
America.
agree with that. Yeah. Well, the reason I was pushing back on because of what you said originally, you were like, if you black and you gay and you don't need to be participating in that stuff right now. So it sounded like you were saying black people should do what's in the best interest of black people as a whole, and
Well,
not
but see, but
participate
that's
in
part,
all the other
but that's
stuff.
part of it because when the white liberal, when the Asian liberal, when every other liberal group who want the black people who are on their side, come on over here and help us. But then when it comes to black stuff and let's say reparations, they're not digging in their pocket to give nobody a dime. You see what I'm saying? So they want us on their side when it's convenient for them, but they're not going to be on our side when it's convenient for us and only us, right? So they claim to be, but in reality they are not. So let's just say we're going to focus on each other,
So
which also benefits America at the same time, because we're
so
not
okay.
we're not going off leave identity
Hold on. Let me
crisis,
ask you.
all
Let me
that,
ask you this.
leave all that identity crisis on its own.
Let me ask you this. Like separation aside, I mean reparations aside, right? Because we almost out of time. Reparations aside, what would be what would be a political thing that that would benefit the ADOS community? Name like just one or
Uh,
multiple things that you think would benefit the ADOS community.
Political, we need to incentivize uh, marriage. We need to incentivize having children.
Social,
We need to wait, and
social,
we need to incentivize working. And we need to. I'm not going to
social.
say punish, but it needs to be something where it makes it uncomfortable, where you are not looking for work, where you are uh, actively trying to dismantle your family. What I mean by you're in divorce court, you're doing child custody battles. You are trying to stay single and get food stamps and welfare. You're dependent on the system more than you're dependent on being with someone to help you. I think those things there need to be a your if that's the way you want to live, you might have to be on your own for a little while to figure that out. But if you're going to be in a family and you're going to work together and you're going to, granted, everybody ain't going to find a soulmate. It's not always about being in a soulmate relationship. Sometimes it's being in a relationship that benefits both parties.
Hmm. So this is why, and this is why I wanted to ask you that is because it's two things. I don't think that there is any political thing that can be done, like real political thing. Like there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about the discussion of reparations that maybe we can get into later. Uh, but like real political things, right? I don't think that there is anything that the political parties can do to benefit solely black people, right? Um, solely the ADOS community, right? I don't think it's one thing. Uh, everything that you name is actually social constructs, right? That we as people have a say so on
It
our own.
benefits this.
It is
It
culture.
benefits
It is
society as a
cultural,
whole.
right? Yeah, it's culture that benefits society as a whole. And the second thing is, like you said, it benefits society as a whole, right? Like you cannot separate based on based on race,
Mm.
and think that you can create leverage within within a subgroup of the country, right? We've tried different parts of it. It didn't work as well as we thought it did. It is thought it should, and it's actually regressing. This is what I think uh, our political system should do, just as a political, just to help the country. One, I think we need to have real requirements on people getting elected. Like you can't be you know, like someone who's never worked a job. You know, we don't need nepo babies. We don't need people who never worked a job. We don't need uh, people from none from with 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 low economic ceilings and low social skills and low leadership skills. We don't need people like that in political power. I think we need people who are highly qualified, who overly produce, who have a who excel within the construct of the system. The other thing I think though they need to set term limits. We need to set term limits on across the board. On like there should be no career politicians, because if you're not like if you have, let's say if you have 8 to 12 years to be a politician, that's going to cause you to do two things. One is going to cause you to get your money right. It's going to cause you to get your money right before you become a politician. Two, it's going to cause you to protect your money interest when your term is over. And so you're not going to tear up a community for economic gains, because you're not going to be able to extract enough money within a 8 to 12 year period to last you a lifetime. Like the best you can do is to get to create is to network and put yourself in a position to win. But if you make bad decisions, you know, the next person can come in and build and tear it down and build it up, and people have the opportunity to do it. But I just think having lifelong politicians, they, there's no incentive to actually do the work if you have lifelong politicians.
Not only that, I think that once you're done with your 8 to 12 years, you can never be a lobbyist. You cannot work for a lobbyist. You because you know the inside of government at that point. And I also
Mm.
believe it, you cannot. There should be a way to control your wealth while you're in office. I don't think you should. If you got a hundred
I
fifty
got away.
thousand dollar
I
salary,
got away.
huh?
I got away. Whatever you were making before you got in office, that'll be your base. That'll be your base salary, and you can only increase it. Let's say 10% per term. Like
And
so,
also and also you can't accept any money, not even donations, none.
yeah, no. That's what I would do. So like if you make $1.5 million as a salary, right? Like right now, and then you decide you just like one if you make $1.5 million as a salary, and then you decide to become a politician, what that shows is you are highly competent. It's not a money grab, right? It's not a money grab. And so I would treat it like a CEO. Okay, if you make $1.5 million as a politician, I mean, as a entrepreneur, let's say, right? I'm okay with paying you $1.5 million to run this local economy, right? Because you've proven that you know how to do it. Now, granted, if you make like if that's all you can make, and then once you get out of, and then you only have a small term limit to make that money, and then you got to go back to your business, right? But I think when you take a teacher who's making $70,000 a year, and then put them in office to where they have access to $1 billion budgets, they are gonna mismanage that. They're gonna fuck it up, And I think we see that far too often, to where the everyday person gets in office and they have access to capital and resources that they've never had access to before. And greed is it's gonna take over, unless you have a really strong relationship with God, and you have a really strong desire to do what is right through activism or something like that. So,
and no
but yeah, so
lifelong
if you
health
come in
care,
making
no
50,000,
lifelong
you're gonna make
security.
50,000 in office. Say
Yeah,
what?
and that's what I'm. And no lifetime health care, because if I don't know if you've been paying attention, but they've been on the backs of veterans all for this year a little bit, talking about the VA disability process. So a lot
Uh,
of them don't see why veterans deserve, any compensation for the time they gave. Well, they don't deserve any compensation, and they shouldn't get any compensation. They shouldn't get any donations. If you can't fund it out of your own pocket, pay for everything, everybody, especially with social media and the way things are now, you don't need a whole lot of people working in the background. Write your own speeches, do it all yourself so we can see who you are, not the people around you. You
yeah,
can hire the people around you once you get the position, and then you can bring people in and change it. Maybe they can change your views on some stuff. But anyway, but since y'all think veterans don't deserve anything, then politicians don't deserve anything. Nothing. Give them nothing and see how they perform. And make sure they don't have access to lobbyists. Make sure they don't have access to major corporations. Make sure they don't have access to any of those things that can influence their mind. Cut that off. There has to be three middlemen between them and a corporation CEO or a corporation lobbyist or the railroad lobbyist or Georgia Power lobbyist or whoever. There needs to be a three-person installation before they could get to that politician, and they never come in direct contact. Keep them so far removed from each other that you have to look at it as a politician. You have to look at it as a consumer. That is
man,
the
come on.
level you are on.
You done went. I don't agree with none of that. But we
You
out of
ain't got
time.
to. But
We,
all right.
we
But
out of
they
time.
they wasn't they wasn't they wasn't designed to be lifelong politicians, and they wasn't
You
designed to
talking
be
about
on
they
the
need to be
side of.
monks?
No, I didn't say months. I just say they need to be removed from being influenced by these people. And if you put a layer of insulation between them, then that direct access limits the influence that those outside sources can have on them.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think they need access to those people. I think
Mm-hmm. I
like
don't
a
think
lot of
so.
people don't understand how a lot of people don't
It
understand how
says for the
capitalism
people, by
works.
the people, right? It says for the people, by the
Yeah,
people, right?
yeah, but
Okay.
major corporations, capitalists, they are part of the people.
No,
So
they're they're part of the system. They're not part of the people.
yeah, people are part of the system. But yeah, man. All right, well, we 4 minutes, we 5 minutes over, man. So
That'll work.
you
That'll
got
work.
any closing words?
Trust God.
Yeah. Um, I enjoyed this. I'm really looking forward to dig into some more history stuff. Um, Website still being worked on. I know it's been a minute, but still trying to get all of that up. Uh, the website, the Substack. Um, Once we get that up and running, I'm gonna you guys should really check out some of the stuff that we're doing on there. We should have a commentary section that really breaks down uh, some of the dialogue within certain books, historical books, that give us a better understanding of it. But that's all I got, man. All right, well, till next time.
Till next time, people. Later on, y'all.